Yo, what's up everybody? On today's video, I'm going to tell you about what it's like to live in Lehigh Acres. As you guys know, I lived in Lehigh Acres for a little bit over a year, and now I'm going to give you an honest review about what I thought it was like to live there. For the most part, it was very quiet and peaceful. I had in the past made a lot of videos saying Lehigh was a horrible, dangerous place to live that sucked, and I had a lot of haters in Lehigh. Ironically though, despite what people were saying on the internet, when I lived in Lehigh, the community loved me, and everywhere I went, people knew me and said what's up, and I really enjoyed living in Lehigh. So it's interesting how the real life experience was different than what was going on in the comment section. The pros of living in Lehigh Acres is that it's got some diversity. Most people mind their own business, and you can drive your ATV or four-wheeler on most back roads. It's not technically legal, but at no point did I ever run into a police officer and be hassled for doing it. So even though it's not technically legal, if you stick to the back roads, you can explore hundreds of areas that are kind of less civilized in your ATV or four-wheeler or quad, and not have to worry about getting in trouble. And that's a lot of fun, and it's very enjoyable to go in areas where you can run into wildlife and just ride your ATV or four-wheeler freely without any concern. And I can tell you that I made some incredible memories, and I had a lot of fun with my four-wheeler in the time that I lived in Lehigh. That's about where the pros end. For the most part, Lehigh Acres is seriously lacking infrastructure. Now, I had talked about this problem in my videos, but I got to experience firsthand how debilitating it is to live in a place where you have no access to city water, you're on septic, you're on well, and you don't have access to good internet, you're on a hotspot or other crappy internet. These are debilitating factors in your livability. There was only two ways to get in or out of my neighborhood after Hurricane Ian. One was flooded and the other had a tree fall down, which means that the lack of accessibility in roadways to get to some of these remote parts of Lehigh Acres means that in a natural disaster or a flooding event, you may have no way in or out of your neighborhood. They need to extend Sunshine Boulevard all the way to Highway 80 and perhaps create more ways in or out. Not only that, but these roads like Buckingham Road and Cemetery Road that you have to use to get into these parts of Lehigh are very dangerous roads with accidents happening almost on a weekly basis, and it is not uncommon for you to have to change your entire commute because the few ways in and out of the neighborhood are blocked because of a bad accident. Thousands of people trying to enter and exit neighborhoods during peak rush hours through residential streets that are only one lane. It's a recipe for disaster. It is incomprehensible the real estate prices that you have to pay to live in Lehigh Acres, considering you're on well, you're on septic, and there's no good internet. With no infrastructure, new houses are still going for over $400,000. Can you imagine paying $400,000 for a home and your water comes from a well, your sewage goes into a septic tank, and the internet that you have available in this location is basically slower than dial-up? There's a lot of growth and development in Lehigh Acres on the residential side, not on the commercial, not on the infrastructure. All of the growth is centered around single family homes or duplexes. If you don't know what a duplex is, it's two houses that are attached together. These are usually rental properties. Now, in the worst parts of Lehigh Acres, you can get one of these things for like $1,600 a month, which is completely outrageous to live in a place that's dangerous bad. Now, as far as your safety, not every part of Lehigh Acres is bad, but I can guarantee you, if you end up in a part of Lehigh Acres where it's mostly duplexes, crime will be incredibly through the roof. You want to find a part of Lehigh where it's mostly single family homes that are owned, not rented. These duplex areas are extremely high crime, and when I did my drive around videos to these areas, you would always see houses where the windows had been recently broken out because somebody went in and did a home invasion robbery. There was recently a case on the news where they caught teenagers with $30,000 cash, a few tools, and a couple pounds of merchandise that those tools were protecting. We're talking teenagers with $30,000 cash. Teenage delinquency in Lehigh Acres is out of control. It may have to do with the parents. It may be the parents' fault. But if you have teenage kids, you don't want to put them in Lehigh Acres. Teenage delinquency out here is incredible. These kids are getting hooked on stuff very young. The parents give these kids money, they give them an ATV, and they let the streets raise them. And if you have a young child, you don't want them to grow around this environment of suburban delinquency. Those schools in Lee County are incredibly bad, and if you go on the news almost on a weekly basis, sometimes 2 or 3 schools at a time, you'll see the news reports of the things that are happening in these schools, and it is completely shocking. I think Lehigh Acres is better suited for people that don't have kids or people that are retired. If you have to put your children in these school systems, you'll absolutely regret it. And there aren't even that many good private schools in the area. One of the better schools in elementary are areas like River Hall are a little bit better, but once you get into middle and high school, it is completely out of control. If you have kids, you don't want them to grow up in this environment. Day to day in the neighborhood in Lehigh, I would see a lot of dumping. The isolation of the area lends itself very well. And I think a huge percentage of the crime that happens in Lehigh Acres isn't always the residents, but it's the workers that go to build all those new residential homes. They dump, they litter, they're arrogant, they'll drive their vehicles on people's lawns when there's no need for it. These dump truck drivers, contractors, and builders, they have a real issue with respecting other people, and they're very purposely disrespectful. They'll drive on your lawn. They'll do anything they can to annoy you and to kind of impose themselves upon you. So a lot of the trouble that we faced living in Lehigh wasn't so much my neighbors, but more of the builders and contractors and the workers that would come to build the houses. We noticed sometimes there would be people, including children, living in unfinished homes. Whenever things would go missing or something would be damaged, you could be certain it was related to the workers, the people that were coming in to build these houses. Many times these workers are from Salvador and Honduras, and they have no problem offering you a wide array of illegal things and services that you think would not be found in a place like this. But these workers bring with them a huge amount of crime to the communities, and just about every single dumping site that I would see pop up was almost adjacent in some type of way to a new construction. So it seems like the builders out here are very much criminal minded. They have no respect for the communities they're building these homes in, and they'll even clear a lot and grab the garbage that was on that lot and just dump it on another adjacent lot that belongs to somebody else. I've seen it happen several times. So it seems like the process of building these homes and the people that come along to build them is a huge source of problems for the people that are full-time residents in these neighborhoods. I also would see them buy and sell properties almost like if they were trying to blow up a bubble in a particular area, or they would litter, or they would drive their equipment on specific lots. Like if you have a lot for sale and they want to buy it, they'll start dumping garbage in an area, or they'll start driving on the grass. They'll purposely deface areas so then they can go in and buy these places for cheaper. I'm personally going to sell my land in Lehigh Acres because now that I'm gone and I can't keep an eye on the property, I'm pretty sure if they're going to start building houses around me, they'll start doing stuff like that to devalue your property so then they can buy it off you. So it seems like the criminal element mostly just revolves around the houses that are being built and the workers that come out to do it. It's a nasty, dirty place when it comes to building these houses. and I'm definitely glad to get rid of my property and kind of not be in this loop. And that's the real deal on living in Lehigh. I'm gonna miss it. I had a lot of fun, made good memories. But the lack of suitable amenities and infrastructure, in particular internet, and the nasty well water means that I had enough with living in Lehigh Acres. Not so much because I didn't enjoy living there, because I had a great time living there, but they really need to stop beating around the bush in Lee County. They need to start putting in the infrastructure, the internet. They need to put the sewage lines. They need to bring city water to these people so they can start living a more civilized life and not have to depend so much on a horrible long commute to Naples for work, which is the final nail in the coffin for living in Lehigh Acres. That commute into Naples, when I first moved to Lehigh Acres and I had to go work in Naples and I was stuck in those traffic jams on Daniels and 75, that right there was the nail in the coffin for me. If you are a normal working class person, I don't know how you can tolerate these commutes. You leave at 5 in the morning, you get back at 7 o'clock at night, you barely have time to see your family and kids. So the streets are raising your kids, you don't have time to connect with your family, and you're living a very high stress, miserable lifestyle because your life revolves around this long commute into Naples. That is a miserable lifestyle, and I think anybody moving to Lehigh Acres should probably have no kids, be retired, and not depend on a commute. And I guess not even commute. If you're working from home, you may not have good internet, which means it's not even suitable for living like that. When I left Naples, Florida, I was frustrated. When I left Alabama, I was scared and frustrated. When I left Lehigh Acres, I just felt relieved that I could move somewhere where I could get access to internet and better infrastructure and have stores and other things that I liked, like shopping nearby. It's made my life a whole lot easier. So I don't hate Lehigh Acres. I'm not afraid of anything that happened there. I just feel like it was good to move somewhere where I could get better infrastructure and better access to the things my family needs. So overall, Lehigh Acres, it's come a long way. It's not the horrible place it was many years ago, but they're gonna have to bring in this infrastructure if they want to make living there for normal people practical. So there it is. That is my review of living in Lehigh Acres after a year. And again, I really had an awesome time out there riding the dirt bikes and ATVs. Being further inland, the effects from the hurricanes out here were limited, but nonetheless, until there's a huge improvement to the infrastructure, it's not going to be a viable place to live. Now, if you're retired and you don't need the infrastructure, you don't need that commute, you're just staying at home watching TV and just enjoying dirt bikes and nature, then I can definitely see Lehigh Acres being an attractive place to live. But if you're a young person, for the youth, there's not a lot of opportunity in Lehigh Acres. Having a business here was a huge failure because the customers didn't have the availability as far as time or money to take care of your services. So it's a horrible place to try to start a business. I ended up closing my junk removal business that worked in Alabama, it worked in Naples, but in Lehigh Acres, I just couldn't get enough customers. And really, if you're a young person, there's not that much opportunity in Lehigh Acres for you.